It is now Monday evening, 5 o'clock in New York. It is 11 p.m. in Israel. Normally, um, I would be starting at 12, but because America changed their clocks without telling us, we haven't changed our clocks yet. We change our clocks at the end of the month on March 28th. So I've got to start an hour early to convenience you peoples, you wonderful peoples out there in Chatland and in the United States mostly, because that's I think where most of you are. If you are alive and out there and kicking and want to say hi, please do so in the live chat. Colton just popped back on, so here is Colton. How you doing, Colton?
Good to be here.
It's nice to see you. I'm going to take our names down because I think you guys basically know who we is.
I hope so by now.
Yeah. Jonathan, I don't expect to be joining us today. He's going through some personal stuff, so we'll give him some time to breathe.
Muriel says hi.
Hi, Muriel. Howdy. We today are going to continue. Let's just jump right in because we've got some announcements as well. So we're going to continue our reading of the story of King David. This is kind of cute. I changed the screen a little bit by adding at the top this right there. I know there are a lot of people out there that think Paleo Hebrew is like the thing. It's the shiz. So this Paleo Hebrew is the same thing that's written down here at the bottom. קריאת סיפורו של דוד המלך בשפה העברית. So whoever likes to play with Paleo Hebrew can spend a little time reading that title up there. It's the same thing. Kuf, Resh, Yod, Aleph, Taf, and so on. So if you're interested, at some point we can go through that. Wanted to say תודה רבה לכל חברינו וחברותינו. Thank you to all of our members at patreon.com. These are our super members. Yay! And our members. Lovely. Colton is right there. Look, there's Colton. And there's Muriel. And there's Jonathan Beck. And there's Jonathan Leifer that is not going to probably be with us right now, but he'll be with me later on. Brilliant. And Adel. Adel also. But all of you wonderful people, you make this possible and you make it so that I can take care of my rent. So thank you so much. Then in addition, I've created this Shmuot mi Bet HaKafe v'Loach Zmanenu Chadash. This is our new schedule. Loach Zmanenu is the table of our times. That is the times that we are putting together, and Hech Chadash is the new one. Shmuot we use in modern Hebrew to mean rumors, things that are heard. But remember, Isaiah 53 uses it. Who would have believed our report? Shmuatenu. Shmuah is basically something that you hear because people are telling you about it. It's news. So modern Hebrew would say chadashot. Chadashot are new things, and it's how you say news. But Shmuot seems like a nice biblical word for it. So Shmuot mi Beit HaKafe, the house of coffee, and that is us, the Hebrew Cafe, of course. So Mondays, we're going to continue 5 o'clock, our first hour, like we're doing today with David's story. When we finish the 5 o'clock hour, the first hour, we're going to do the second hour at 6 o'clock, beginning Biblical Hebrew, which is what we have been working on through Show's Grammar. Today, we are going to continue as we have done. That is to go until 7:15. Because we're going to cover the homework from last week as well as we can. But starting next week, starting this Thursday, in fact, this Thursday, like 3 days from now, for anyone who wants help with their homework for Show's Grammar, I'm adding a half hour / hour starting at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday. It can go for half an hour. We can finish at 7, or if we need the time, we can finish at 7:30. But weekly, we'll go over the homework from Shio. So I'll cut that out of this second hour, which will cut 30 minutes out of that second hour and allow us to add an extra 15 minutes to go into the grammar and stuff without having to deal with the homework. So we're going to get rid of the homework from that hour, which will allow us to add those 15 minutes back into our third hour. So our Biblical Hebrew communication, or communicative Biblical Hebrew, which is for the Patreon members. So does that make sense? I hope that's clear. Let's see. Scott Honeycutt says, this is your cousin Scott in Michigan, Colton. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, good to see you. Mm-hmm.
I've not seen you before, but we see Colton's dad come in.
Yeah, he should be here sometime soon.
Yeah, and sometimes my mama pops in. She probably won't today because I didn't remind her. So that's the new schedule. It will go into effect officially next week, but we are going to go ahead and add this on Thursday this week. So what homework we don't get to today, because we really can't spend a lot of time on the homework, we're going to add that time, and on Thursday we're going to go really get into the homework for the next session. This is the bare bones of David's story. We have completed Ruth chapter 4, the genealogy. We've completed chapter 16 of 1 Samuel and chapter 17. Now we're getting into chapter 18. So this is basically our reading schedule without time limitations, because we're going to be reading as much as we can get to. So today we're starting chapter 18, which deals basically with Saul's jealousy toward David and David's marriage to Michal, which is... remember that Saul had made the promise that anybody who killed Goliath would get to marry his daughter. And so we see the fulfillment of that promise, that David becomes basically a prince of Israel at this point. Colton, have you started watching that show? Elena is here and Adel is here. Adel, I don't see your camera, but you are welcome to get on with us. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great.
Doing good.
Good.
I just want to surprise you to come on board here.
Yeah, we've not seen you in a while. Welcome back.
Adel, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. Jason's maybe seen you a little bit, but I haven't seen you at all.
No, he's been away. Where did you travel?
I was
Romania?
not traveling. I just had no. I just
you just took some time
had a
off.
very busy schedule, but I'm okay now.
I thought in my head you went to Romania. You went on this trip and you.
No, not really. No.
All right. Well, welcome back. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
I wanted to cover something a little bit different today because basically I've prepared for the first 10 verses of the chapter. I'm thinking that why not go over a little bit of the vocabulary and especially the verbs. So I pulled out all of the verbs from the first 10 verses of the chapter. I didn't put all of them into a table like this, but I did put 3 of them. So this is the verb that has the root. You know what the root is, right? You can see by looking at it. It's kaf, lamed. Yes, anybody going to say?
Yeah, and hey, right?
It would a vocalic hey, which is if you're rendering the root, it's yod. Kaf lamed yod.
Mhm.
The old root. Even though we would say it's kaf lamed hey, it's really kaf lamed yod.
Okay.
Fantastic. What binyan do we see in this table? Is it kal, nifal, piel, pual, hifil, hufal, or hitpael?
PL.
This is piel, yes. How do you know that it's piel?
The morphology, you got the second root has the gash, you got the
Mhm.
hirik in the first root letter.
Or patach.
Or patach.
Yeah, the hirik or patach is the mark of piel. Great. So we've got the doubled middle radical and the hirik or patach in the first syllable. Great. Very good. So how I arrange verbs in a table I arranged because in Hebrew you go from right to left, right? So on the right, I arranged the past tense. On the left, the future tense. Okay, if we're thinking in these terms, they would say that. Thought I heard a noise. They would say that past is the katal, future is iktol. On the top, I put the participle, which is the present tense in modern Hebrew. The bottom, I put the imperative, and here I put the infinitive construct. At the bottom, I will put notes about any other forms that might be relevant in my eyes. You could use the bottom of the table for whatever you want. But this is how I arrange verbs. So lechalot is PL, meaning to finish. You finish doing something. Lechalot. It's the opposite of hechel. Hechel means he started. Right? He started to do something. Hechel or hechelu, they started. And kila is he finished. He finished doing it. So the most important form is probably going to be this vayichal. Vayichal, which is yechale without the hey, because we have the verb consecutive. The vayiktol drops the hey. Okay, we name the tense by this form right here. The third person masculine singular kila. When we're talking about the past tense of this verb, we say the verb kila, kila or lechalot, the infinitive construct. Okay, so I won't go through all the forms, but we can read through very quickly. Kileti, kileta, kilet, kila, kilta. Kilenu, kiletem, kileten, and kilu. This is the past tense. It should be noted that instead of kileti, we will find also kiliti. Kiliti and kileti is the same. Like these are alternative forms. Kileta or kilita, kilet or kilit. If the vowel in the middle is tsere or chirik, it's the same meaning. In modern Hebrew, normally would say kiliti because we use e for the active tenses and a for the passive tenses. So mileti, that's with aleph. Excuse me, that doesn't count. Kuleti. Kuleti is more like toward the passive, the kulu. It's the passive, the pual. So we tend to go with e for in the active tenses and a in the passive tenses, or passive binyanim, but it doesn't really matter in the Bible. You can find both forms, just so you know. Okay. Mechale, mechala, mechalim, mechalot, kale, kali, kalu, kalena, kalena from techalena. Okay, so achale, techale, techali, yichale, techale. These forms are always the same. That is the. Oh, I didn't explain what I have on the table. So this is first person, second person, third person. First person, second person, third person. This is singular, and this is plural. The genders, right is masculine, left is feminine, and the ones in the middle on the line are common. Common meaning masculine and feminine together. So that's how the table is arranged. And when we get into the grammar today for the second hour, and also next week, especially when we have our introduction to verbs, basically I'm going to pull this part of the table, which is the past tense. And we're going to look at the kal in the past tense. Okay. All right. So let's get to the second verb. The second verb is much more common. This is ledaber, speaking, especially with that form vayidaber. Vayidaber, and he spoke. The pual can be used as an adjective, medubar, spoken. So when we say spoken Hebrew, ivrit, meduberet. Meduberet, spoken. Aravit, meduberet, spoken Arabic. So the past tense is diber. Notice that this is a special form that has segol. Most forms will have tsere. Or there are some that have patach, like shilam, he paid. Shilam. Today we say all of them the same. Diber, shilem, They're all the same, but in the Bible, some of them have patach. Okay, so dibarti, dibarta, dibart, diber, dibra, dibarnu, dibartem, dibarten, dibru. I'm kind of just like going through. Jay, how you doing? Howdy. Welcome. Nice to see you. It's nice to see everybody like popping in that we haven't seen for a while, right? If you have questions, please post them in the live chat, and I'll try to flip back over and answer them. So medaber, medaberet, medabrim, medabrot. The infinitive is ledaber. Daber, daber elai, speak to me. Dabri, dabri elai. Dabru elai. These are the imperatives. Daberna. Okay. In modern Hebrew, we've gotten rid of this part of the table. Let me show you. Because the use of the feminine plural is kind of odd, basically you take this form, tidaber, and you add na, tidaberna. And when you make the imperative, you just drop the taf and you say daberna, daberna, speak. We're going to see these feminine forms in the book of Ruth a lot. There are some other places where you'll see them, but generally they're not so common. And in modern Hebrew, we're going to use for the most part, for most speakers of modern Hebrew, use the masculine plural in the second and third person, also for feminine. Like we just don't use the feminine. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't. You should learn them. It's like in Spanish where, the table is like I am, soy, you are, eres, he is, es, we are, somos. And then we have this form that says vosotros, where you say sois, and they are, or you are, son. So sois is a form, or the coméis. I don't know who studied Spanish. Coméis, habláis. These vosotros forms in the Americas, they're not used. It's something that's used in Castilian in Spain, but not in the Americas. That's kind of what's going on, that we don't use these forms in modern Hebrew, but you can. They are an option, even in modern Hebrew, and good speakers of the language will use them. Okay? Tiyenna, you will be, tiyenna. Lakach, lakachat, to take or to receive, to accept. We're going to see that Saul took David into his own home. Vayikach, and then you can add on to that suffixes vayikachehu, he took him. Vayikachenu, we can have he took him. One interesting thing about this verb lakachat is that in the past you can have a passive, a call passive, that looks like pual, lukach. Lukach means he was taken. And the future is yukach, he will be taken. For the majority of instances, the passive of the kal is the nifal. Nifal. So we do have nifal of this verb, and it's nilkach. Nilkach, in the future, yilakech, yilakach or yilakeach. And the ending in these passives can be each or ach with the guttural. So nifal, we can say nilkachti, I was taken, nilkachta, you were taken, and so on. But in the Bible, we find a kal passive that looks like pual. It's a beautiful form. So you can say lukachti, I was taken, lukachta, lukacht, and so on. That's why I put it in the bottom, because it's a nice feature of that verb of lakachat, to take. Another important one is the word for to give, latet. You can have yutan. Yutan, you will be given, I think. But the passive normally is in the nifal. Nitan, nitan, he was given. Okay, so we got lakachti, lakachta, lakacht, lakach, lakha, לקחנו, לקחתם, לקחתן, לקחו. לוקח, לוקחת, לוקחים, לוקחות. לקחת, notice the lamed is not part of the verbal root, it's kachat. Because it's the lamed in this verb behaves as if it were first yod. So it drops out in the future. Like Yishan, he will sleep, Yashan, he slept, becomes Eshan, I will sleep. The first yod drops out. Kach, Chi, Ku, Kachna. I should have put a word stress on these words and I missed it. Sorry. Ekach, Tikach, Chi, Tikach, Tikach, Nikach, Tikhu, Tikachna, Yikhu, Tikachna. Okay. With that, that's all of the grammar that I wanted to cover real quick as we go into the reading. Hopefully that is a new addition. These are all of the verbs from the first 10 verses. So lechalot, to finish, ledaber, to speak, lehi kasher, this is nifal, from likshor, to tie. Likasher is to be tied, to be wound up with something. Likasher. If somebody puts ropes on your hand, they tie you, then you are nikshar, niksharta. It's nifal. You were tied up. No questions so far. Okay. Le'ahava is technically a noun, love, that's joined to the lamed. This is often used as an infinitive to mean to love. Le'ahava et Adonai, to love the Lord. The actual infinitive is le'ehov, but normally in the Bible you're going to see le'ahava instead. There's a group of words, of feeling words, that have an infinitive that's actually made on the noun. Like le'sin'ah is to hate, le'ahava to love, le'yir'ah to fear. There's a certain group of words. Okay, lakachat, to take. Latet is the opposite. This is natan, which is to give. It also means to allow or to permit. Lashuv, to return. Lichrot is to cut, like David cut off Goliath's head, and also God cut off the waters of the river whenever the people crossed over into the promised land. Karat. But it's often used together with Brit. Adel, do you mind doing me a favor? Could you send a message to Eva?
Mm-hmm.
She asked if we are in class. Can you just message her and let her know what we're doing?
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've set it up so my iPhone is here in my face so that if I get messages, I can see them. That's nice. So lit bashet is a hitpa'il verb meaning to get undressed. In this chapter, we're going to see that it's paired with an accusative, like lit bashet et ha'me'il. The accusative normally doesn't go with the hitpa'il, but it's probably because it's like an accusative of reference. If you're aware of Greek and Latin grammar, accusative of reference means he does something with reference to this, or it's related to this. So he got undressed with reference to his robe, meaning that he took off his robe. Normally, if you take something off, it's going to be in the hifil, hifshit. Hifshit. Hifshit means he took it off. Hu hifshit et ha'me'il. Hu hifshit et ha'michnasayim. He took off the pants. He took off the coat. But lit pashet just means to get undressed. It's still used today in modern Hebrew, and it's here in this chapter for us. From this, leafshit, to take something off. We turned this into, not we, but whoever invented Hebrew, not me. Pashut is the word that we use for simple. Pashut. It's not dressed up. It's not fancy. It's pashut, simple. It's as if everything was taken off of it. What's that? Jonathan.
Hi.
Hello, you beautiful face.
Is this the second hour?
No, we're in the first hour. I'm just introducing some things before we read. I've decided that Maybe it's difficult for people to do reading without hitting the vocabulary first. So let's
Good
do some
idea.
vocabulary and then we're going to go.
Good idea.
Let's
Carry
say
on, carry on.
To go out or to go forth, lishloach, to send, you send something out. Laskil can be like latzliach. People know latzliach more, which is hitzliach, he was successful. He had success, it's in the hifil. Laskil can be the same as latzliach, to be successful, or it can be to be wise, like sechel is sense. So laskil can also to be wise, or to get an education, to get wisdom. Lasim is to put. It can be the opposite of to take off. If lafshit can be to take off, or laser can be to take off, then lasim can be to put on. You can put on a garment, or it can be like you put somebody in a position, which is what is in our passage. Lavo, to come or to enter. Leakot is hifil of naka, and it's not naka but naki. Remember, the yod is the actual ending. Leakot is to strike, to hit, to attack. And by implication, if you strike someone and you do it in the right way, then you probably killed him. So leakot is often to kill, even though it doesn't literally mean kill. Lashir, to sing. This is kal. Like lasim is to put in the kal, lashir is to sing. La'anot to answer, from ni, right, the yod again. Lemor, to say. These are verbs that are very common. Laroa is this is a kal of ra, bad. Laroa is to be bad. So vayira means it was bad. It's the opposite of vaitav. Vaitav, it was good. Vayira, it was bad. Litzloach is kind of like a laskil. It means also to be successful in the kal. Sometimes we see it in the kal. Normally it's in the hifil, lehatzliach. Litnabe, from navi, right, prophet. So it's to prophesy in the hitpael. And lenagen, to play. You play on an instrument. You play bechinor, bepsanter in the piano. Lenagen bepsanter. Lenagen bagitara. Guitar. One thing I will say about lehit nabe, we say it means to prophesy. There is a sense in which it doesn't mean to prophesy, in that the person receives inspiration or words or visions from God. In a sense, it means to be crazy. This connection exists in Hebrew and in Greek. Like the mantis. Mantis is someone, it can be a prophet or it can be a crazy person, like the praying mantis. Litnabe can be to prophesy, or it can be to like go into a trance. And because really in the ancient world, there was a connection between going into a trance, into this hyper mental state, and seeing visions. And so that's the connection. So we see mitnabe umshuga, umishtageah, excuse me, in the biblical text, to prophesy and be crazy. This exists in the Bible. And so when we read it about Saul in a few minutes, if we get to this verse, don't imagine that Saul is giving oracles of the living God. When it says that Saul is prophesying, it means he goes into a trance. He goes into some kind of ecstatic state. Saul is not a prophet of God. Okay, to put it simple, he has an unclean spirit that is bothering him and making him crazy. So litnabe, we should connect it with this idea of insanity. With that, we are half an hour in, so we will read as far as we can. I hope that was useful. And we are going to go straight into verse 1 of this chapter, if we can tell it to go to number 1. There we go. Look at that. Pull away. verse 1. Who wants to start us out? And then I'll change the order according to the readers. Do we have any volunteers?
I will.
All right, so Colton, I'm going to throw you up to the top of the list on the screen. And then whoever volunteers after you will go second. That way we keep the list fresh. All right, go ahead.
ויהי ככלות לדבר אל שאול, ונפש יהונתן נקשרה בנפש דוד, ויאהבהו יהונתן כנפשו.
Yes. Just to note, there are a few kri uchtiv words in this passage. I've taken the ktiv, the word that's written in the text, and elevated it to mean that we're going to ignore it and put the kri after it. So kri and ktiv are these what's written in the text and what we're supposed to read. Okay, great. What do you got?
And it was when Saul finished speaking.
No.
When he
the subject
finished
of a verb can never be in a
Saul,
prepositional phrase.
sorry.
Yeah, when he finished speaking to Saul, and the chaluto is what form?
The infinitive construct.
Infinitive construct. His speaking or his finishing, according to his finishing to speak. Great.
Yeah, sorry, that was my problem. Yeah, the heart of Jonathan was tied with the heart of David.
Yeah, means that he felt an emotional commitment to him. They were tied together. Okay.
And Jonathan loved him as himself.
Yeah, like his own soul. Good. For those who are Jewish and interested in moving to Israel, the governing body that assists people with the process of immigration is called Nefesh Benefesh. You see Nefesh Benefesh. And it's taken from this verb, or from this passage. And it means that one soul is tied to another soul, and it means that each person needs to care for his fellow. So this is a group that helps other people make aliyah, immigration.
Is this the same phrase that's used in Leviticus 9? Do you know?
Leviticus
19,
9,
excuse
I'm
me.
not aware of it.
19, that's what I meant, sorry.
Leviticus 19, let's take a look. What is Leviticus 19 about?
You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Is it the...
Oh, no.
Is it not? Okay, it's not this
You shall love your neighbor as yourself is ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha.
Kamocha. Okay. Sorry, it just, the themes were the same. I was just curious if it was the same kind of wording.
Yeah.
But when he says he loved him as his own soul, you know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
gave me that kind of vibe.
Yeah. So it just says kamocha, like you. Like you. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. All right, verse 2. Who wants to take verse 2?
I can take it. It's an easy one.
Adel. There you go.
ויקחהו שאול ביום ההוא, ולא נתנו לשוב בית אביו. And Saul took him in that day, and he did not set him to return to his father's house.
And so Netano this is the sense of allow. He didn't let him. He didn't give him to return. It means he didn't allow him to return. He made him stay at his house. Didn't allow him to return home. Okay. Notice that lashuv, to return, doesn't have here like el beit aviv or le beit aviv. There's no directional. It's just assumed. And we're going to see that quite a bit in biblical text. Great. Who wants verse 3?
Okay, I can do it, probably. I'll try.
No.
ויקרות יהונתן ודוד ברית באהבתו אותו כנפשו. And Jonathan and David made a covenant because of love for him, of his love for him, and because
Well,
no,
this is
because-
like
and his own soul,
his own soul,
like
his.
his own soul. Okay.
Yeah, very good. Havato is. You would expect it to say that Jonathan and David made a covenant in their loving each other, right? But it doesn't say that David loved Jonathan, and we're going to see this throughout the story that it doesn't ever say, as far as I remember, David loved Jonathan. It always says Jonathan loved David. Right? So Bahavato Oto Kanafsho, in his loving him as his soul, meaning that Jonathan had this great love for David, but we don't see that it says that David loved Jonathan, and we'll see at the beginning of 2 Samuel chapter 1 when Jonathan died. Spoilers: everybody in the Bible's dead. But when Jonathan died, David did not lament and say, I loved him so. He says, his love for me surpassed the love of women. His love for me, how he loved me. He didn't say we loved each other and I loved him. It's always Jonathan has this love for David that's mentioned again and again in the text. It's very, very interesting.
But he did say that it surpasses the love of women.
Yeah,
So
but it was Jonathan's love.
It depends. Yeah, but it depends on. There's. I wrote.
You have to ask what the scale is. The question is what the scale is.
That's getting into the weeds. That's getting into the weeds. Let's not get into the weeds. But I did write a paper on that. It was fascinating.
So now that you're talking, Jonathan, you want to read next?
Hello, everybody.
You want to read
Glad
verse 4
to be
and
back.
Tell us how you're doing a little bit because we haven't seen you.
Vayit pashet Yonatan et Hamail asher alav vayitnehu leDavid umadav va'ad harbo va'ad kashto yep va'ad hagoro. So
wow.
Yeah, so this is so let's see. I need vocabulary help because I'm looking at the window, at the Jason's window.
Pashet again is to get undressed. Think of pashut as simple because you take everything off.
Yep. So Jonathan is undressing at Hamail asher alav.
Okay, so that's like an accusative that's going with lit pashet. So it's an accusative of reference. He got undressed with regard to blah blah blah.
Oh, with regard as far to as far as the whatever this ma'il thing is, which was
we
upon
use
him.
It today to mean a coat, but it probably referred to his outer garment.
Yep,
like
and he gave it to David, and the garment. It's another kind of garment, I think. Until his sword, and until his helmet, and until
not helmet, but bow, kishet, bow. Because remember, Jonathan was a bowman. He, at one point when he was trying to save David's life, he would shoot an arrow and would go over there. You're going to see it later on. But kashto, Jonathan would run around with a sword and a bow.
Vayitnehu, he gave it to David. And then to the Chagoro, is that the belt? His belt?
We normally think of it as a belt, but remember that when Adam and Eve were expelled from the garden, it said that they made themselves, in the beginning, like clothes of fig leaves, and that when God kicked them out, he gave them chagorot ol. He gave them leather garments. So
Yeah,
chagol,
well, yeah.
chagol can be.
Yeah. I think
This is not feminine. We
translations-
normally take it as chagora, the feminine. So is there a difference here between
Interesting.
chagora and chagor? Let's look that one up. First
Yeah.
Samuel 18, and let's see.
Shall I pull up my
Chagor.
logos?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too.
Okay. I haven't used it in a while, Jason.
Welcome back. It
Yeah.
says that it's something like a girdle or a binding garment. All right. Great.
Great.
Jonathan, Corel, Jonathan. Yes, Jonathan's reading about Jonathan.
It's appropriate. Apropos.
All right, so apropos. The Vayitenehu is Vayiten, and Ehu is it, right?
Yep.
Vayiten oto.
Yeah, and we had we had it before as well. Vayikachehu, which the last time I was here, we ran into that. We said, oh, that might look like a nifal, but since it has a heavy ending, it's going to shift the accent.
And so, I did pull it up in the verb table that I threw up on the screen.
Yep. Sorry for coming in late.
Lakach, yikach, yikach, yikachehu. So verse 5. Vayetze David. Simatzere, Vayetze David.
What?
Asher yishlachenu Shaul.
What's going on?
Yeah.
What happened?
It was fun. ויצא דוד בכל אשר ישלחנו שאול ישכיל. Okay, he had success. He was successful. וישימהו שאול על אנשי המלחמה. ויטב. Okay, this is the good one where we said before we have the word bad, which is here. Vayera. Vayera, it was bad. So these are opposites. Vayera, it was bad, and Vayitav, it was good. Be'enei chol ha'am, v'gam be'enei avdei Shaul. So David went forth in everything that Saul sent him, like Yishlach, Yishlachenu. Instead of Yishlachenu, we could say Yishlachehu, the Ehu ending, just like Yitenehu, Yikachehu, Yishlachehu, but this has the nun, the nun egergicum in Latin, the nun that's just added in there.
Wait,
so Yishlachenu.
Egergicum and not energicum?
Energicum. Energic. Right? Energicum.
Yeah. Yes.
Energic. That's such a stupid word. Why do we have these stupid words?
It is very because Hebrew grammarians were mostly Latin. That's why.
Yeah. So in all which Saul sent him, Yaskil, he was successful. So whatever Saul sent him to do, he was successful at. Vayasimehu, lasim, he put. Yasim, vayasim, he put. Vayasimehu, he put him. So we could see vayasimenu, the nu with that nun energicum appears sometimes, and sometimes it says who, ehu. So Saul placed him up over his the men of war, that is the warriors, right? Vayitav, and it was good in the eyes of all the people, be'inei chol ha'am, v'gam be'inei avdei Shaul, and also in the eyes of Saul's slaves or his servants. Okay. All right, with that we go back to the top of the list. Colton.
ויהי בבואם בשוב דוד מהכתו את הפלשתי, ותצאנה הנשים מכל ערי ישראל לשיר המחלות לקראת שאול.
מחולות, excuse me, מחולות. See, it's funny because the consonants are like the word for diseases. Machalot. So my brain went to machalot because that's the natural way that I would read this word. but it's mecholot, which is dancing, like formational dancing.
Yeah, I think of it as like
Dances.
the cursing word, right?
Yeah,
The-
lechalel
Yeah.
is to curse, but this is from the word mechol. Mechol is
yeah. I'm
or
saying
dance.
that's when I've confused it with earlier when we were going through it.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
had this word
Sounds
before,
familiar, like
probably
a
in the
familiar
Psalms.
problem. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
So
והמחולות
והמחולות, mhm.
yeah, לקראת שאול המלך בתופים בשמחה בשלישים ובשלישים. There we go. I'll get through that.
Uve shalishim. It's a vocal shva.
ובשלישים. Okay.
Mhm. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to find where it started. It's a longer one. And it was when
Bevoam, when they
coming,
entered.
yeah,
When they came in.
when David returned from smiting the Philistines.
Smiting. Yes, good. Now we have the continuation of this Vayihi. It happened. This is the temporal clause.
Yeah.
And now we have, and it happened when this happened, that.
Right.
This is that.
That so is bevoam and like beshuv meant to be like appositional here?
Yeah, I think the bevoam is referring back to the men of war when they came in from battle.
Oh, okay.
And it came to pass when they came in, that is, you go out to battle and you come in from battle.
Okay.
And then you have a secondary temporal clause when David returned from striking the Philistine. That is from the Philistine is it could be the Philistine army. Haplishti is like a categorical noun that's collective, or it could be from Goliath. It's probably not from Goliath because of what's going to happen down in the next section. Probably
right. Okay. The women would go out from the cities of Israel to sing.
Probably not they would, but they did it. It's the past tense. But it's sen machine. They went out. So when they came back,
they went
when
out.
they entered, the women went out.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Went out from the cities of Israel to sing and dances, and dances to meet Saul the king. With drums, with joy, and with what do we say? These are stringed instruments of some sort, shilashim.
Yeah, probably a smaller lyre, like something that's probably handheld or something. Cool. Likrat Shaul reminds me of a panthesis in Greek, this idea that when a king comes to meet your city, the right thing to do is to leave the city and go out to meet the king or the dignitary, whoever has come that deserves respect, and then you accompany him back into the city. Yeah. You don't just let the king show up and come into the gates without some kind of fanfare. So they've left the city, they went out of the city to welcome the king and bring him in to the city.
Yeah, I want that to be a verb.
Yeah.
Mecholot. I want it to be a verb. And it's not.
I see some comments going on over there. Trying to read through them. Okay. Great. So who's after? I know you wanted to be a verb, and Jonathan does.
Sorry, Jason, that was an accident with that comment. But yeah.
Yeah. Jonathan wants it to be to meet.
Say what?
Verse 7 goes to Adel. We have about 10 minutes left, so I think we're going to close it out. I'm not hearing you. Are you talking? Maybe you're muted.
I'm not muted now.
All right.
ותעננה הנשים המשחקות ותאמרנה, הכה שאול באלפיו ודוד ברבבו, ודוד ברבבתו. Be'erevavotav.
Mhm.
Women always do that. Sorry. They stir the pot a little bit. And the women sang.
So they answered, right? They
The
answered.
answer isn't it? I thought ana. There are two root words for ana. One is
Mm.
answer, but also the ain can be a very guttural ain, and it means sing.
Oh, is that right?
Maybe.
I'm
I didn't know there
almost.
was a secondary meaning,
I'm
but
almost
maybe.
Well, there is a
because it's
there's a secondary.
Ana can mean
I think-
sing.
Yeah, I think we ran into it in the Psalms.
So ana mean
I
could
think you're
be
right.
sing or answer. Yeah, there's another
Yeah.
root for, and it's very guttural. I mean,
Very good. You're right. Yeah. So which women were singing?
the women,
The laughing women.
the laughing woman, the
Yeah.
one that was. You're right, and the
So
sad
the laughing women sang and said,
and
"Good.
sad.
That's good."
Shaul struck thousands and David tens of thousands.
Yeah. So they were laughing because they were, having a good time
Good
because
time.
their king and their warriors came back to the city victorious, and they, in their joy and their laughter, they said something that Saul took to be offensive. That Saul had struck his thousands, which is normally I guess it's a good thing to kill people. And David has tens of thousands. I don't know that killing people, tens of thousands of people, is a good thing. But
It is when you're a
Unless you're a
warrior.
military hero,
Yeah,
a mighty man.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think Colton was thinking the exact same thing at the exact same time.
Yeah. So how did Saul take it? I think Colton's next. Or Helena? Helena?
Uh-huh.
Who's next? I can't see the.
Helena's
There we go.
next.
Helena's
Yeah,
next.
that's me. Sorry.
Mhm.
Vayihar
Yichar.
Leshaul. Huh?
Notice the placement of the stress. Vayichar.
Vayihar
What is
Leshaul.
this? What's the root of this? What is the verb?
Hara.
Chara. Which sounds like a bad thing in Hebrew. Chara. The root is chet resh yod. In modern Hebrew, it sounds like with an aleph on the end, and then it's a dirty word. Like it means.
Yeah, that's why you write it in cursive. You got to keep it.
It means
keep
crap
it,
or shit.
you
But
just keep
here it doesn't. Vayichar means it became hot. It became kindled. Mhm.
Vayihar Leshaul meod. Vayera בעיניו הדבר הזה, ויאמר נתנו לדוד
Not tenu, not tenu, not tenu, but not tenu.
נתנו לדוד רבבות, ולי נתנו האלפים מאוד, מאוד לא אך המלוכה.
Okay, ועוד לא המלוכה.
And Saul's anger was kindled, and he was angry in his.
Well, the anger is the vayichar, and the vayera is, and it was bad.
And it was bad in his eyes. And
The matter. The matter was bad in his eyes, or was evil in his eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing was hadavar. And he said, they gave David
myriads or legions or tens of
Legions,
thousands.
legions, and to me they gave thousands.
Mhm.
Mhm. Uh, and mm,
This is a kind
maybe
of difficult
people have
phrase.
kingdom, something like
So
this.
ach means but. Ach hamelucha is but the kingdom, except for the kingdom, and more to him, and he has more except the kingdom. That means it probably means he has more than me, more fame, more importance, more gravitas than the king. The
Uh-huh.
only thing he doesn't have is the kingdom. Yeah, so it's like he's saying
And he
David's
has
getting more credit.
more.
David's getting more credit than he deserves. Yeah. Jonathan, let's we've got 5 minutes, so let's read these next two verses as quickly as we can.
And it's conveniently my turn.
Yep.
Verse 9. So, Vayi Shaul avon et David.
It looks like Avon, right? This is
It does.
it's Oyen. It's
Oyen.
Tri Uchtiv.
Yep.
Oyen et David.
I didn't even read it as I still saw it as the Ketiv, even though it's
like
not.
a kal. It's like a kal
Right.
participle of the root that is I, like ayin.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you
So-
look at someone suspiciously.
Yeah, so Saul looked at David suspiciously. Saul eyed David suspiciously. It catches the Hebrew pun.
Yeah.
Me'ayomahu
Me'ayom
from that day v'hala until the next, for like an idiom from that day on.
That day on. Hala is like it is
Hala.
on. I mean, it's like from today on. Me'ayom v'hala. V'hala. This is used also in modern Hebrew.
Okay, cool.
Neat. Verse 10 is the last verse. Vayhi mi mochorat, from the next day. Vatitzlach ruach Elohim ra'a el Shaul. And in this case, the titzlach probably means it overcame him. The Spirit of God, an evil one, had like victory over Saul. It overcame Saul. This is an unclean spirit. Vayitnabe. This is he prophesied. Again, it's not prophecy. This is a bad spirit. Okay? Ruach Elohim doesn't necessarily mean it's of God. It can be a strong evil spirit. A powerful evil spirit overcame Saul, and he went crazy betoch habayit, inside of the house.
This is my favorite.
He went into ecstasy, into ecstatic state. It doesn't mean that he was saying, in the future, this is going to happen. Like, he doesn't have inspiration. It's insanity. The Vayitnabe means he lost his mind. The David menagen, David is playing biyado kayom bayom. He's playing his instrument every day, kayom bayom, according to a day in a day. It means every single day. Ve'achanit biyad Shaul, and the spear that Saul could throw was in his hand. Saul had his spear in his hand. Again, look into the dictionaries and the uses of the word lehitnabe, to prophesy, and try to get past the idea that this means to receive oracles from God, right? Vatitzlach ruach Elohim ra'a el Shaul vayitnabe betoch habayit. Means that he was inside the house going nuts.
I heard, it might be incorrect, that the verb navi when it's called means somebody prophesying. When Hitpael is like prophesying wrongly or not prophetic.
Normally, it would be in the kal or in the nifal, not in the kal, but in the nifal. Lehinabe. I don't think that such a distinction exists.
It sounds
Okay.
like somebody trying to make theological sense of it to me.
Remember,
I
we've-
heard it from.
We've talked recently, and we about the Hitpael often being like an outward like showing of the thing, like to make oneself
Performative?
seem oneself seem that way, and so.
But I don't think that Saul was even doing that. I don't think that he was trying to make anyone think that he was prophesying. Like I just think that it meant that he lost his mind.
Was lost his
He
mind.
went into
This is
an ecstatic state.
But this is
I think this
But
is. I
this is
think,
after he meets with the and comes upon the prophets earlier in the book. And
Did we see that?
No, we didn't because we skipped straight to David. But it happens when he's coming back from getting the sheep, and when Samuel anoints him, and Hitnabe is there as well.
Mm.
And so it's the same. He does it there first.
I don't think that's the same sense though. I think in that case, because it's a band of prophets, B'nai Nevi'im, that what he did there, it doesn't mean prophesy either, but it means in that case, to sing. He joined their song.
Yeah, I don't see that though. I can see both of them being like he made it appear as though he did the same thing that he did then, showing the same like outward manifestations or whatever that he did then. But like, and I realized like even in Halot it says to exhibit the behavior of a Navi, like to seem like one.
But it would. So in that case, in this case, it would seem like he would look like he was hearing voices or something like that. A prophet would hear the voice of God, right? But somebody who's crazy also hears voices.
Right.
So,
I think the bottom line, if I may, I think Hitnavi is some element of Hitnabi is not true prophecy. It's either fake or false or pretentious or something like in that nature.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think
we
making a
would really
theological
have
thinking.
to. We'd have to look at
Yeah.
the uses of.
I
the
think
word
we're
here.
running into a chicken or the egg situation right
Yeah.
here.
All right, so let's get
problem.
into the
We
grammar
don't have
because we've got. Let's jump
Yep.
over to the other session because we
See
are
you in
out
the
of
next
time
one.
and already
Mhm.
crossing over. See you. This
Yep.
was fun. This was good.
Peace.
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you.
Bye.